beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were.
Hello and welcome. You are listening to A Beautiful Legacy. I'm your host, Tiago Pinto, and this is your short moment to look at the objects, the systems, and the ideas that shaped how we live, shop, work, and move. In this chapter, we are starting with the work, because sometimes legacy is compressed into one object, one room, one system. A kitchen seems ordinary, almost invisible, but ordinary spaces often carry the strongest design ideas, because they shaped behavior every day, quietly, repeatedly, until a plan becomes a habit, and a habit becomes a way of living. That's where the legacy of this room begins today. Today, we look at the Frankfurt Kitchen. Designed in the 1920s by the Austrian architect Margarete Schütte-Lihotzky, it was not created as decoration. It was created to make domestic work more efficient. It treated cooking as a process. It studied movement, reach, storage, sequence, hygiene, and time. And its question still matters. What happens when design turns daily life into a system?
Beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were.
Before the Frankfurt Kitchen, many kitchens were improvised spaces. The kitchen was a place of labor, but not always a place designed around labor. For many households, domestic work was constant and physically demanding. Cooking, cleaning, carrying water, managing fuel, storing food, and preparing meals required time and movement. But this labor was rarely treated as something worthy of architectural intelligence. The Frankfurt Kitchen challenged that. It proposed that domestic space deserved the same analytical attention as industrial spaces. If design could reduce unnecessary movement in a factory, why not in a kitchen? It did not begin with style. It began with the work itself. Margarete Schütte-Lihotzky was not simply designing cupboards. She was part of a modernist belief that architecture could improve daily life. Born in Vienna in 1897, she became one of the first women to study architecture in Austria. Her career emerged when housing, public health, urban reform, and social progress were very closely connected. The Frankfurt Kitchen was developed within Frankfurt's social housing program under the architect Ernest May. The ambition was efficient housing for a modern society. Schütte-Lihotzky studied how women moved in kitchens. She looked at distances between tasks, storage, reach, surfaces, and cleaning. The result was a compact, standardized, functional kitchen installed across thousands of apartments. Schütte-Lihotzky treated the domestic worker as a professional operator. The kitchen became a workstation. Every element had a role. Work surfaces were placed at practical heights. Storage was integrated. Aluminium drawers held dry goods. A fold-down ironing board saved space. The sink, stove, and preparation areas were organized by sequence. Materials were chosen for hygiene, durability, and easy cleaning. The logic was clear. The user should not wander across the room to complete the task. Take, prepare, cook, serve, clean, store. The fitted cabinets, the organized work triangle, the connection between storage, preparation, cooking, and washing, the expectation that the kitchen should be planned, not merely furnished. To make something efficient, you must decide what the task is, who performs it, what movement matters, and what kind of life the system serves. The Frankfurt Kitchen improved domestic work. It reduced unnecessary movement. It made small apartments more functional. It brought intelligence, hygiene, and planning into the home. It was designed mainly around one person working alone in a compact space. On one hand, it recognizes domestic labor as something important enough to be studied, respected, and improved. On the other, it risks making that labor more efficient without fully questioning why it remained so unequal. The Frankfurt Kitchen liberates movement, but not necessarily the person moving. It dignifies domestic work, but it also standardizes it. It makes the kitchen smarter, but it also makes the role of the kitchen more fixed. The world we inherited from the Frankfurt Kitchen. Every time we open a fitted cabinet, every time we stand between sink, hob and counter, every time we expect storage to be built in, every time we measure a kitchen not by furniture but by workflow, the modular kitchen, the compact apartment kitchen, the kitchen showroom, ergonomic domestic planning, all carry something from Schütte-Lihotzky's work. The Frankfurt Kitchen helped introduce the way of thinking that now defines much of contemporary design. Observe behavior, map movement, reduce friction, standardize the system, make invisible work visible. This logic is now everywhere. Retail, hospitality, service design, digital interfaces, supermarket aisles, office systems, flows, journeys, tasks, and interactions. It is an early example of user-centered design before the phrase became common. It comes from what if we designed not for appearance, but from behavior.
Beautiful legacy.
The Frankfurt Kitchen is a small room with a large legacy. It reminds us that design does not need to be monumental to be transformative. Sometimes, the most important design happens at the scale of a hand, the distance between a drawer and a surface, the height of the counter, the reach between a sink and a stove, the steps required to prepare a meal. But ordinary life is where design has its deepest consequences. Margarete Schütte-Lihotzky understood that the home was not outside modernity. It was one of its most important frontiers. She looked at the kitchen and did not see a background space. She saw labor, movement, inefficiency, and a system waiting to be designed. With the Frankfurt Kitchen, she gave the modern home a new grammar. Compact, functional, measured, integrated, repeatable. Its legacy is the belief that daily life can be studied, improved, and shaped through design. The Frankfurt Kitchen turned cooking into a process. It turned the domestic room into a system, and that truly is a beautiful legacy.
Beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were.
You've been listening to A Beautiful Legacy. In this new chapter, we are exploring legacy through specific works. Objects, rooms, systems, graphics, and ideas that change the way we live. If this episode shifted how you think about the kitchen, domestic space, or the hidden intelligence behind everyday routines, follow the show and join me for the next episode. Until then, keep noticing the beauty people leave behind.
Beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were. In the shape of a chair, in the light on a wall, someone's dream still stands tall. But